All right. Call the meeting of the McHenry County Zoning Board of Appeals to order. We have two petitions today, 2024-070 and 2024-071, and we will hear them separately and vote on them separately.
Yeah, we did prepare that way too.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one, 070, is, the PIN number is part of 15-32-353-004 and part of 20-05-102-001. And the address is 920 Rawson Bridge Road in Cary. The applicant is Darko Nikolic.
Yes.
Nikolic, did I say that right? Okay. It is a 5-acre tract on the south side of Rawson Bridge Road, approximately 55 feet east of South Rawson Bridge Road in Nunda and Algonquin Township. And the request is for an A1 agriculture district to an E5 estate district. Okay, we'll start with the board introductions, and we'll start on my left with Mr. Cozen.
Robert Cozen, Algonquin Township.
Charlie Eldridge, Richmond Township.
Vicki Gartner, Nunda Township.
Kurt Schnabel, Riley Township.
Bill Karnick, Grafton Township.
Thank you. Okay, so we do have one person in the audience here, so for your sake, I'll explain what we're going to do, unless you know what we're going to do. We will.
It's been a while, but
Okay, well, first, I'll read the legals and swear everybody in, including yourself, and then we'll hear testimony from the petitioner, and we will ask questions. The board will ask questions of the petitioner, and if you have any questions at that point, you can ask a question. I just ask that you don't speak until you're recognized. Then we'll have the staff report. Oh, staff might have questions too. And we'll have the staff report, and we'll have any questions for the board to the staff, have those answered. And then we'll have public comments, at which time you can speak in favor of or in protest of this petition. And then following the closing statement, we will possibly vote or continue the hearing. So that's it in a nutshell. So at this point, I'd like to ask everybody to please silence their phones, and I will read the legals. Excuse me, already, it's starting.
Tell me about it.
No. Okay, the publisher's certificate of publication from a newspaper is dated January 21st, 2025, and thereby meets the ordinance requirements. The affidavit of posting was signed and date posted was January 29, 2025, and thereby meets the ordinance requirements. The affidavit of mailing was signed and date mailed was January 15, 2024, and thereby meets the ordinance requirements. The survey has been checked against the petition, legal notice, and publication in the newspaper, and all three match. The filing fees have been paid. The endangered species consultation was not required for this petition, and the McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received. If you need more information on that, it is NRI L24-097-4653. Okay. Now at this point, I will swear everybody in. Even if you don't think right now that you might want to talk, just go ahead and raise your hand and I'll swear you in and we're done. So, okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this testimony today?
I do.
Thank you. I didn't have my little cheat sheet. Okay, will the petitioner waive the reading of the petition?
We will.
Thank you. That helps. Okay.
she really would have no voice.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, can you please introduce yourselves and tell us what you'd like to do?
Certainly, Chairman and members, my name is Lisa Wagoner, and I'm here representing Darko Nikolic, who is the owner of the property. is here with me. His wife is also here in case there would be some questions that would be asked of her, as they both reside at this property. The application, as you see, is a request for a reclassification, basically, of two parcels. We've got 11.2, I think, acres in total, which is strange because it's bisected. One part of it is in Nunda Township and one part of it is in Algonquin Township, of course, cutting the opposite way. So we're cutting a pie from 2 halves to 4 quarters, basically. The assessors won't be happy with us, but so our 2 parcels are currently zoned A1 in the county. Obviously, legal non-conforming parcels, as they're not 40 acres. We're not exactly sure how they ended up there or in that shape, although we understand many, many years ago this is part of a larger farmstead, probably in the 30s, because I think the 2 small houses were built in the 30s, and then I think the larger house was built in the 50s. So it's zoned A1. Our parcel that is the subject of this petition is 5.02 acres in size, and it sits right at that corner of Rossenbridge Road and South Rossenbridge Road. I'm not sure why we couldn't find some other names, but that's
It's like the Pingree
up to us.
intersection.
right, right. And it's surrounded by MCCD property, of course, and then interestingly enough, Algonquin Township Road District owns a large property to the west. It sort of wraps around the single-family residence. And then there are other single-family residence parcels on the northeast, on the east, and some a bit further on the west. So it's basically either residential or conservation type property. Well, I'll let Darko right now give you a little overview of what's there on the property and his familiarity with the area. So Darko, could you just introduce yourself? And one thing that we talked about when we were meeting, it's kind of unique. There's 3 houses on this property, and it's like, even though it's on like the tax bills and everything, it's shown as 920 Rossenbridge Road. You know, this house has a mailbox that is 1009 Rossenbridge Road, and then the house in the middle that is vacant, I think you said has an address of
931.
931, and then the littlest one is 920. So it's all known as 920, but there are a couple of there's a different mailbox there on the house that they live in. So if you could just kind of describe a little bit the house, what's there at the property?
Yes, my name is Darko Nikolic. On that property, there is a house, pool, barn, a couple of sheds, 2-car small garage, and pretty much trees, greens, and grass. That's about it on that side of the property.
And you reside there currently?
Yes, I reside there, I live there, and it's 1009 address.
Okay. And are there other similar properties in the area, single-family residences?
Yes, like that, across the street is a 5-acre C1, and there is a couple of also in the area, same as this property that we are trying to do.
And you have, and you're aware of the property on the south. It has the stream, of course, and then it has.
Yeah, it has a stream, and yes, I'm aware of that.
And wetlands and.
And wetlands, yes.
And you're working with Stoyan at the county to restore some of that property to the south back to the conditions it was before.
Yes, I already did that, and I'm just waiting on a surveyor that I already paid for services, but he had family issues and he was not able to do it within time, so I'm just waiting on him.
Okay.
But I already complete my part of work.
And you know you need to submit that back to Stoyan.
Yes, I know.
So we talked before in our preparation before the hearing that there are certain things that you have to be able to establish in order for this board to be able to recommend this rezoning. So one of the things we talked about is this proposed zoning compatible with other zoning and uses in the area?
Yes. Very is compatible.
Do you think that the property value is diminished by being the A1 zoning?
Yes, because I think it's gonna add a value into a smaller lot for the house instead of being on 11 acre.
And A1 is intended to be more ag uses?
Yes, more ag users because I don't intend to use any agriculture. It's more single-family house. And with all the stuff, I don't think I even have a space to do any agriculture, like animal, whatever. But I'm not interested into that, so
Okay. Did you think that the rezoning from the A1 to the E5, would that have any adverse effect on any adjacent property?
No.
You would still continue to use it just as your single-family
As a
residence?
single-family residence, yes.
And what would be the hardship to you if you can't, if this rezoning isn't accomplished?
Well, it's just overwhelming, such a big property to take care of and maintain.
And that's a basis more for your division of it?
Yes.
Right. But you saw that the E5 probably is more suitable from the standpoint that there's state zoning across the street?
Yes, across the street and down the road also there is E5 zoning as well.
So you've already kind of testified on the suitability of the property for uses in the A1 with the impediments to farming and agricultural uses. And one of the standards is length of the time the property has been vacant. So I'm going to skip over that one. It asks about a community need for the proposed use. We talked about this being the use is a single family. It's going to remain single family. So there really wouldn't
Yes.
be a difference between one or the other?
Not really. If it's gonna stay single family, I tend to live there.
Okay. And is this proposed change from the A1 to the E5, is that consistent to your knowledge with the county 2030 plan?
Yes.
We talked about that beforehand, that basically the plan designates this property as environmental and residential, and so.
Exactly, and residential, and then it's already 10 years or 20 years from now, it should be a residential or green. National preservation is down south, and so it wouldn't be any issue different or anything like that. It would stay the same.
Thank you. So, Chairman and members, I think we've presented testimony on all of the standards for our rezoning. Since this is rezoning from the A1 to the E5, there's no special requirement like the A2. As the chairman has stated, we have complied with all of our filing requirements. This use is residential. It is residential. It'll remain residential. So there's really arguably no change in the use. And there was no real ag use on it anyway. So respectfully, we would request your recommendation of approval, and we welcome your questions or comments.
Okay, thank you. Bob, you have questions?
In the staff narrative, on page 3 of 45, there is a reference to some past actions. And it says the applicant has been working to remove the business from the site. Is there a statement that you can give us as to the progress and success?
I have removed any business that I was working, doing there, so no longer any business. My motorhomes are all moved. My business is moved out of there. My trucking business also, so I'm not running any more business. I'm just looking for.
So it's in your opinion then that you've complied with that statement in terms of?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Mary?
Hi, I'm going to ask that, since Barry was not here to start, would you introduce
I
yourself?
was just going to do that.
Okay.
Mary's on top of it.
Okay.
Well, other than the fact that I know that it's 1:30 somewhere, my apologies, but I don't live next door, so it wasn't hard to get here. I'm Mary Donner from Greenwood Township,
I'm Darko Nikolic.
and I've read everything, and I'm good at the moment. I have no questions.
Oh, thank you. Charlie?
Yeah, this is probably for Lisa, and it's more curiosity than anything. There's a rectangle long and fairly narrow along Rawson Bridge Road that is excluded from the parcel, sort of a carve out. I was wondering why that was there.
You know, I tried to figure that out as well.
Which one?
Right here, this, yeah.
Is it an extra wide right of way there?
No, somehow that got conveyed to the, I think that's actually owned by the Conservation District.
So it's not part of Mr.
No,
Nikolic's
no.
property?
Right,
This was, yeah, it's in a new survey, it's not in an old survey. When I was purchasing property, that did not exist there. But then, when they built that Rawson Bridge Street Road, they did something. As you can see, that kind of part of a street is also into my property, which I don't have anything to do with it. And I think the city, they made it, I don't know, some changes back then.
right.
So-
But it's
But it's not.
MCCD, it's got a PIN number, it's MCCD property. Very
Okay,
strange.
that's
Yeah,
odd, but
very, yeah, very. But then over on the other side, on Tuxedo, you see Tuxedo is actually owned by it's owned by McHenry County.
yeah.
So I think that had something to do with moving the bridge as well, so, yeah.
All right, well, that isn't really relevant to the zoning change, but it seemed weird.
Yeah, I agree.
That was my only question.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schnabel?
The question Mr. Costen asked already answered my question.
Okay. Mr. Koenig?
I'd like to say the same thing, but I'm just to confirm, you're no longer operating a business out of that property?
No, sir.
And the motorhomes, trucks, or whatever are shown in this aerial photo that we have in the southern half of the property, those are all gone?
Yes, sir.
I have nothing.
There is one motorhome, my motorhome left there, and 2 tractors, that's it. But no trailers, nothing, everything is moved.
And you've lived in that home for how long?
More than 3.5 years, almost 4 years.
And you intend to continue living there?
Yes, sir.
Nothing further?
Ms. Gardner, may I,
Yes.
has there been any objections to this? Of course, I should be asking with all those communities next door.
So I'll go ahead and answer that now, though it should be asked
Thank
during
you.
staff. For the record, my name is Anna Kurtzman, Senior Planner. Staff has not received any objections to this.
Thank you. I'm ahead of myself now.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I actually represent Oakwood Hills and Fort Barrington, and they've not brought it up with me, even though they've gotten, like, just one instance, whatever, they asked me about it, so. And they would have seen my name on that stuff, so.
Okay. So I only have one question. Have you lived in there since you bought the property?
Yes,
Okay, so 3.5, 4 years you've owned it as well?
yes, yes.
Okay,
For first maybe 6 months, I haven't lived there because I was remodeling that house, and I needed to get it in state that I can live in there,
yeah.
so.
Oh, and I do have one more weird question, which this petition seems to evoke from us. There's some sort of orange, maybe a walkway or something around the pool.
Oh, that's a mulch,
That's
right?
red mulch.
Oh,
cedar
that's
mulch.
red mulch.
That's just a mulch, and those are stones that are around, those white.
Okay.
Those are like a big yellow stones, rocks.
Flags.
Okay,
Yeah, like decorative stones.
right, okay, yeah.
They've been there.
It looked like it might have been sheep or something.
Believe it or not, those white, how it looks circle around the pool, those are big yellow stones, and they've been there for a very long time, but it was just outgrown, and when I cleared it up, then I washed it and it became beautiful.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Didn't paint little sheep faces on them.
But yeah, all that red is mulch.
Okay.
Everywhere you see red, it's not fat, it's mulch.
Okay, all right, that looks very neat, whatever it is, okay. All right.
Thank you, yeah.
And we've already addressed the standards, so that's taken care of. Anna, do you have any questions?
No questions at this time?
Thank you. And the gentleman in the audience, do you have any questions?
Oh, no, that looks, that orange mulch is pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I asked.
Safety fence, I thought it was a fence laying there. But
Okay, all right, in that case, we'll
Should be
move.
red, but I don't know.
Well, whatever. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to the staff report.
Okay, again, for the record, my name is Anna Kurtzman, Senior Planner for McHenry County. The subject property is just over 5 acres. It does comply with the minimum requirements for both acreage and First Street frontage for the request for the E5. As we've already noted, the property currently is zoned A1 agriculture, and from the map on the screen here, you can see that most of the area is A1. There is some E1 and E2 in the vicinity, as well as some R1 down the road a little bit. The surrounding land uses are predominantly a environmental component. There's also a fair amount of residential, single family that's in the area, as well as some vacant parcels that have not yet developed. Future land use designation, as previously noted, the northern portion of this is listed as residential, with the southern part being an environmentally sensitive area, and that is due to the creek or stream that goes through there and the associated floodplain that's with that creek. Staff has no concerns with the request to rezone from A1 to E5.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions for Anna? Okay. In that case, if the gentleman in the audience has anything to say about this, any opposition or approval that you would like to comment on?
I'm gonna be going through a similar process in the future, so I'm observing and
Okay.
it seems like a great idea. I don't know.
All right. And you didn't really give an opinion, so I'm not even going to ask your name. I don't think it's necessary. Okay, Lisa, do you have a closing statement?
I won't spend a lot of time on it. We think we comply with the standards. We think this is actually a great sort of modification of this strange parcel. And I didn't really give Darko an opportunity to tell you, but basically this summer he just decided he couldn't take care of all 11 acres. He spent all day on the tractor.
I like to do on my, sorry for cutting you.
No.
I like to do on my own, like on my property. I like to take care of my property myself. I managed it last year, but I was not able to do anything else except managing that property. So it's a bit challenge, and it's a big parcel for me.
So one of the rationales is just basically to be able to limit it so that he can take care of this place, and maybe someone else will have a little bit of joys of home ownership in McHenry County. So
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, now, as you know, we only have 6 members today, so it is your option to either have us vote today or to continue to a different date.
I'm comfortable with taking the vote today, if you can get a motion in a second.
Okay, in that case, I will close this portion of the hearing and we'll move on to the voting portion.
Madam Chairman, I move acceptance of the petition.
I'll second.
All right, hold on, I have to catch up here. And- Discussion?
From my perspective, this is very easy. It is an area that is planned for residential, and this is a residential use. It is 5 acres, and it's E5, so there will be no attempt without further rezoning to do anything further with the site. It is an area that has a lot of estate-type homes, and most of the things that aren't estate-type homes or owned by government at one level or other are kind of weird in this area. And largely historic artifacts of a much different period in McHenry County. I think this is a very good use of this. I believe all the standards have been met, and I am easily in favor of the petition.
Thank you. Ms. Donner?
I agree with Mr. Eldridge.
Mr. Cozen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, as a point of both personal privilege as well as clarity, I am familiar with the property to the west, as it was my youngest son's Eagle project. And I only bring that up both for parental purposes of embarrassment and pride. With that, therefore, to the matter at hand, I believe that the testimony and the record submitted favors this zoning amendment and fulfills the balancing test which it is subject to under the provisions of the ordinance. And for those reasons, I'll be supporting this petition.
Thank you. Mr. Schnabel?
Let me just say that I've been myself cutting and taking care of 5 acres of land for over 30 years without any help. I can't imagine doubling the amount. That would be pure torture. So for that reason, as well as what already been said, that's what I'll just say at this point.
Thank you. Mr. Craig?
The petitioner is required to comply with section 16.20.010.E.1, and I believe the testimony is established that all of the elements have been established other than C, G, and E, or C, D, and G, which are neutral. That involving the balancing test, I believe it's pretty clear that the petitioners complied with the ordinance.
And I agree. I think the everything has been met, and I would be in favor as well. So I will call the roll. Mr. Eldridge?
Yes.
Mr. Cozen?
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel?
Yes.
Ms. Donner?
Yes.
Mr. Kearney?
Yes.
And I will vote yes as well. So this will go to the county board with a 6-0 vote in favor of recommending this petition.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so we will close that, and we will again reconvene with the hearing portion of the next petition, which is, is this the other one, or is this both of them? Oh wait, I see the other one. Never mind. I found it.
Found it?
Yeah.
And then
This again. Yeah. Okay, let me get this out of my way so I don't confuse myself. Uh-oh. Already, I lost what I needed.
what are you looking for, Becky?
Oh, I have it, never mind. My copy of this petition.
Side, take
Okay.
that corner.
Okay.
The other corner.
Strange. Okay. So, once again, this is application number 2024-0-071. Again, we have little bits and pieces, part of PIN 15-32-353-004 and part of 20-05-102-001 at 920 Rawson Bridge Road in Cary. The applicant is Darko Nikolic. The subject property is just over 5 acres and is located on the south side of Rawson Bridge Road, approximately 452 feet east of South Rawson Bridge Road in Nunda and Algonquin Townships. The request is for an A1 agricultural district to an A2 agricultural district with a variance to reduce the street setback from 65 feet to 49.7 feet. Okay. and you know who we are, we won't go through that again. So, Lisa, if you want to go ahead and tell us what Mr.
Do you want to swear us in again, just for the record?
Do I have to? I do, okay, all right. All right, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony today?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so I am still Lisa Wagner. and this is Still
Still
Darko
Darko.
Nikolic, and we're here for the second part of our application, the second half of the 11 plus acres that Darko currently owns. In this case, we're asking for the rezoning from the A1 agriculture to A2, and we also need a variance to allow that existing home to sit less than 65 feet back from the middle of the road, which may have been more than 65 before the road was moved, I'm not sure, but.
And for clarity, we're talking about the easternmost home in this case.
Yes, easternmost home, yeah, no, westernmost home.
No,
We're talking about the one in the middle.
The one in the middle is too
Yes.
close?
Yes,
oh.
With the red, orange around it.
Okay.
yeah, with orange around it.
Yeah,
Okay.
the mulch, it has mulch,
Yes,
yes.
Mulch.
Yes. So this parcel will be 5.351 acres, and it, unlike the other, has a fair amount of green space. It has a two-story frame dwelling and then one-story frame dwelling, a barn and a shed. Definitely has the remnants of the farmette that was probably there many, many years ago. And similarly, that, again, just to restate the area in the area of the parcel is one that's dominated by the Conservation District property as well as other single-family residence zoning and uses. I'll have Darko go ahead again and we'll talk about the property. Darko, if you could just obviously introduce yourself again for the record.
Yes, my name is Darko Nikolic again.
You know what, before we do that, I realized I was supposed to read the legals again too.
Oh, okay.
Separate petitions, so let me do that quick,
Okay.
and then I'll let you go ahead. Okay, the publisher's certificate of publication from a newspaper is dated January 21st, 2025, and thereby meets the ordinance requirements. The affidavit of posting was signed and date posted was January 29th, 2025, and thereby meets the ordinance requirements. The affidavit of mailing was signed and date mailed was January 15, 2024, and thereby meets the ordinance requirements. The survey has been checked against the petition, legal notice, and the publication in the newspaper, and all three match. Filing fees have been paid, the endangered species consultation was not required for this petition, and the McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received. Okay, thank you. Go right ahead.
Thank you. For this property, on this property, there is two houses vacant, one up north and one by the river. There is a barn, horse feed barn, one garage and silo. Now that picture is taken a little while back. It looks like there is a lot of concrete there or gravel. That's all gone. It's grass there now, green. That property was a lot bushed out and a lot of just bushes. So I cleaned it up and I planted nice grass. So that way, all the way to the creek is just nice grass that you can walk on it, and trees, a lot of trees also there.
And Darko, around the, as I already mentioned, in this area, similar,
Similar to the other parcel, the creek runs through the property, the floodplain also.
and there's other houses in the area.
Yes, and the other houses in the area that are similar, yes.
And you talked about, before we met, about the need to satisfy the same standards in the zoning ordinance. So we'll just kind of go through those again. So one question is whether this, the proposed zoning is compatible with its use and zoning in the nearby property.
Yes, it is.
And arguably it might be more compatible given the fact that the A1 classification implies maybe larger scale agriculture.
Yes, and since it's such a large property, it's more convenient to be a smaller portion and still to be some kind of use of agricultural use.
So And by that, you mean you could use the buildings potentially for low intensity?
Yes, for low and yes.
Do you think that the property value with the existing zoning is diminished? We talked a little bit about rebuilding the houses in the A1.
Yes, those houses are vacant and not livable right now. I mean, one it is, but one it's not. And I'm planning on intending as soon as the snow is over in winter to finish that house and complete it. That was my project, and one of the projects was first to do the parcels, and then I can move on and finish the house.
But there should be no negative impact by rezoning from A1
No negative, it should stay the same,
Okay.
yes.
Again, would there be any negative impact on public health, safety?
No, no, it's all green, so no any public safety or any changes.
And there's a driveway out onto Rossin Bridge Road?
Yes, there is a driveway right next to the house.
Existing?
Yeah, that's existing.
Is there, and what would be the hardship if it was not rezoned from the A1 to the A2?
Well, that would
Well, and we talked about if the improvements were destroyed, you would not be able to rebuild those.
Yes, I know. Yes, if something happens to either of the houses, burned out, or I don't know, tree falls down and crash the house, I would not be able to rebuild those houses nor to do anything with them.
In the A1 zone.
In a A1 zone, yeah, I would just lose the house.
Is the property suitable for the present zoning, which is, the uses would probably be roughly the same in the A2?
Yes,
So the uses are single-family residence and then some adjacent open space, basically?
yes. Open space, green, grass, that's,
And the length, again, vacancy is not really an issue, and community need, I'm not sure that's a factor, but the only community need would be that you could create another single-family residence lot, correct?
correct.
And again, we talked about the 2030 plan that the county plans out for the future and wants to designate properties to keep some consistency. So the property is residential in the comp plan?
Yes, it's a residential future comp plan and the green. So yes, to answer your question, yes, it is.
One of the things that is an addition to this application is there are a couple of special standards that has to be satisfied when you want to rezone from A1 to A2 that we talked about. So the property is, as we all know, currently zoned A1, and there's a residence already on the property. There's two, but there's one already on the property,
Yes.
correct? And we just had this one parcel that's part of this application that's 5 acres,
Yes,
a little plus 5 acres.
a little over 5.4.
In terms of the variances, we talked a little bit about this, the fact that, the county zoning now requires that if you have property in A2 classification, that the house or a single-family residence has to set back 65 feet from the middle of the road. And according to our survey, the 2 points of the house, one is 49 feet and one is way too small for me to see on here, so 51.83 feet. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, I'm aware of that. I didn't put the house there. The house was there for many years. And I think that when they had that old road, it was, but then when they rebuilt the bridge and when they reconstructed that, that's when that happened, I think.
so you did not create that, the
No.
need for the variance. And from the standpoint of this property, the uniqueness is that this home was probably built in 1930, so it would predate at least the county ordinance that we have in place.
That house there,
Right.
yes.
Is the purpose of this variance is not just to monetary gain, correct?
Correct.
Because basically you're wanting to divide it, but the variance comes is kind of a byproduct of rezoning.
Exactly, yes.
The hardship that is created by the dwelling that predates, the parcel itself is part of the aquifer, but we've already touched that, not been created by you, excuse me. So you're not desiring just monetary gain. Sorry. Would you think the variation granting would be detrimental to public health or safety or the neighborhood?
No,
And that's because the house basically sits there.
sits there already, yes. And everything sits and remains the same. as is.
Would the variation impair light or air or increase the congestion in the streets or have any negative impacts that you can think of?
Nope. Nothing that I can think of.
Because there aren't really any houses right around
No,
here
no.
anyway, correct?
No.
So, would this, the special variance that was granted to you just currently allows you to keep that house existing with the way it is, correct?
Correct. It can be added, nothing, it gotta be the same as is, so.
So with that, I guess I will say we've conclude our testimony. We've, again, complied with the filing requirements. Darko's presented testimony on the reclassification, on the A1 to A2 standards, as well as the variance, which the variance is kind of unique because the building just sits there, we can't move it. I suppose you could cut part of the building off, but that
Yeah.
wouldn't make a lot of sense. And our use is residential, will continue to be
That
residential.
would be part of half of a living room.
Yeah, nice. Okay. And where it complies with, our use and request complies with the 2030 and beyond comprehensive plan. The property is existing, has mature trees, has the sensitive area. It's really not suitable for a large-scale agriculture purpose, although, as Darko said, you could probably farm, some nursery, some vegetable stock, or some.
Back in the day, used to be a nursery.
Right. So we think that the A1 to the A2 is an appropriate request, and we would request your recommendation of the approval of our petition to the county board. Please.
Thank you. Okay, any questions from, let's start at the other end, Mr. Koenig?
Just to clarify, the two residences, the one on the northwest corner and the one on the northeast corner, which one were you working on?
On the northwest to the, yes,
The
northwest.
Northwest, and that's the one that we need the variance for the setback?
Yes.
And just describe, how big is that residence? What's, number of bedrooms, bathrooms?
It's about 2,000 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 1 living room, kitchen, dining room, washroom, like dryer and washer room, and that's it.
Planning
2
on renting-
floors.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, 2-floor house, and that's about it. Nothing else there. Garage behind it.
You planning on renting that out?
Yes, renting it out or selling it to other owner,
Okay.
somebody. So
And what about the building in the northeast corner of the property?
that's the same as a part of the property. Both houses.
Yeah, just describe that house.
That house is 900 ish square feet. It has 3 small bedrooms, 1 living room, kitchen, and that's about it.
And on the aerial photograph that we had up before, at the beginning of the hearing, all of those mobile homes or whatever those are?
Yes,
along
that's
the
gone.
property line, they're all gone?
Yes, that's all grass now. All that gray stuff, those concrete, that's now green.
Okay, that was gonna be my question. All the gray stuff is now grass?
Yes,
Plantings?
yes.
Okay, and for council, just address the applicability of subparagraph D of section 16.36.020.
So the standard that the that the member was referring to is relative gain to the public,
No, subparagraph D
D.
D3.
is in the.
Oh, I have it up on the screen, Lisa.
Oh, I'm looking at my, sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is for the A2 standards.
Oh, ACE 2, okay. D3, so, did you say D3?
He's talking about this Plat Act.
Plat Act.
The
Plat Act,
which one,
right.
Plat Act? is that?
Yes,
Did you read that?
so we talked about the fact that this is the sale of one parcel, 5 acres or more, and there won't be any new streets or easements of access. You can get to the property off of Rossenbridge Road, correct?
Yes, both these houses, they have driveways
So.
already
paragraph-
existing.
Paragraph
So D1
D1
is the applicable exception to
Paragraph
Plat
D1
Act.
in your opinion is
Yes.
compliant. I have nothing further.
Thank you. Kurt?
I have no questions at this time.
Charlie?
I guess my question is why A2 instead of another E E5?
I think that we had the A2 because we thought there might be a possibility of someone being able to do some of the A2 type uses. You might be able to grow some vegetables on here and have a little agritourism there. It's so close to
You can
the,
do that on an estate zone too.
I think we were just kind of staying with the A2 permitted uses.
Okay. Would have been easier if it was two E2s at once, though.
Probably.
I have no questions.
Yes, just, I don't know if this is relative to staff, it's just to understand the setback applicabilities on this with the survey, and so direct me if I'm misdirecting this. Now, the building that is to the northeast, relative to Rossenbridge Road and Tuxedo Lane, their distance is even closer than the building that we have been subject about. Why has that not needed a variance, be included in the variance petition? If you notice that the northeastmost residence, that's within 34 feet of the southern platted right-of-way of Rossenbridge Road, and the western right, 48 feet of the western right-of-way of Tuxedo Lane.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
We were targeting from the middle of the road, I think, even though you're saying that it is a,
Definitely, that house is further from the street away than that house on the northwest side.
I just don't want you to miss an opportunity while you have such a gathering of mind and talent that it may be otherwise required. I was just,
well, it's interesting because the edge of the pavement is definitely further, I mean, there's no dedicated right-of-way really, which is why we're using the 65 feet for Rossenbridge.
Right.
And there really isn't dedicated right-of-way
So
there either, because that's the McHenry County
would
property.
you like me to address this?
yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were just saying.
No, I-
He was,
Oh, okay,
but
okay.
I'm asking
But
if
nobody
you would
seems
like
to
me
know,
address
so-
it.
Oh, yeah, sure, I'm sorry.
Okay, so as Lisa had previously noted, what we call Tuxedo Lane is actually a parcel with a PIN number that the county now owns. So the house that is at the northeast corner there is not subject to, because that property line is not adjacent to the road. There's a parcel between the house and the road right away. That setback does not apply.
Mhm. So the 48 feet, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So the 48.15 feet is a measure that would apply to for in this purposes, a side yard setback then.
Correct.
But then what about the 34.38 feet?
So I can't read it off of you, so the 34 is between the
the
house
north.
and the north, okay.
That's correct.
So that would be also a side yard setback. even though it appears to be a front because of the way that the county-owned parcel is between the two.
One more setback
Sure.
for Howard Mines, which is the structure immediately to the west is labeled a barn on the survey. And it shows a setback of 23 and 26 feet of the westernmost lot line. And I'm not, what is a setback?
So for a detached accessory structure, it's a 10-foot setback.
I have no further questions, and thank you for the thoroughness of staff.
Did we all ask questions?
Except for you?
Except for me, okay. All right, so your plans are to possibly sell?
Rent, sell, I first want to finish the house
Okay.
and get it in order.
So if you sell this parcel, it has 2 houses on it, and they're both in the same PIN number, how does that work? Anna?
Even better than to have 3 houses on the same thing. Trust me.
So we are very fortunate. I did calculate based on the plan survey, the small house in the northeast corner is just over 850 square feet, so it does qualify as an ancillary dwelling. So you can have your principal, which would be the house at the northwest corner, and the ancillary in the northeast corner.
Okay, I have a somewhat even more arcane question on that.
This is our day.
It is clear that if he sells it, a new owner can have an ancillary dwelling. Can a owner who does not live on the property but is a landlord rent an ancillary dwelling or not?
Technically, no.
Okay.
So the property
He
owner
does not
needs-
have the right, if he retains it for rental, he does not have the right to rent both houses legally.
But if the split occurs, yes, you are correct.
Okay, I mean, if we rent this.
Yes.
So you should
Even
be
if it's
aware of
rent
that.
just one house, the third house, it won't be a rental.
Yeah, well, what the rule is
Yes,
you'd be
I-
better off to sell it.
Yes,
That, I just want you to be aware of the rule.
that would be better off.
Yeah, okay. All right, any other questions? All right, moving on. Oops, I lost my cheat sheet. All right, we've already addressed the standards, thank you. And does the staff have any questions?
No questions at this time.
Okay, all you have is answers today, this is great.
Okay.
Does the gentleman in the audience have any questions?
Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Anna, staff report?
Okay. For the record, my name is Anna Kurtzman. I'm a senior planner here at McHenry County. The subject property is located on the south side of Rawson Bridge Road. It's a little over 5 acres. It's currently zoned A1. The request is to zone it to A2. The surrounding properties are A1. There are some residentially zoned properties to the southeast and to the northeast, and a little bit commercial to the northeast as well. The property itself, the surrounding land use, as noted, it is currently being used for residential purposes or has the potential of being used for residential uses, with the southern portion designated as vacant, largely because of the environmental factors associated with that. The current land uses in the area are predominantly environmental issues. There is some residential scattered throughout the area. There is a subdivision to the south. Future land use designation has this property as being designated as residential to the north with environmentally sensitive areas to the south Again, that's due largely to the creek and the floodplain that's there. In the area there, there's the future land use map is designating this area as residential with some environmentally sensitive areas that the Conservation District currently has ownership over most of that. Normally, staff would make a recommendation as to whether to approve something or not. We have purposely not made a recommendation on this particular request. Does meet all the technical requirements for an A2. I know that the history of creating the A2 has been so that an agricultural piece is left with the farmstead being broken off. That is a historical, it is not in code. So it is totally up to this board as to whether you want to continue with your history or if you would like to accept the code that says that this could be a A2 parcel.
Thank you. Any questions for Anna? My only question is, what's your recommendation? But apparently there isn't one.
Well, Chairman, if I could mention, so looking at the table, unless you changed it, like the agritourism limited is permitted in A1 and A2, but not in E5. Did you think it was permitted, Chairman, in E5? I mean, Chairman, or
Well,
member?
No, the agritourism is not, but the agricultural activity is.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
Although under Illinois law, it's very hard to stop somebody from having a farm stand.
Okay. I mean, we were just thinking with the green
Anywhere.
space, you could have a pumpkin farm, or you could, it's a.
Well,
It's
how much are the eggs now?
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
no,
I didn't mean to
you
interrupt.
get it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Got it.
the E1, you cannot have a business. Well, you can have what are listed as home occupation.
Occupations, right.
Okay. Any comments from the audience? Okay. All right, in that case, we'll listen to your closing statement, Lisa.
Thank you. Understanding the concern for the A1 to the A2, we do think that we've met all the standards for the reclassification. We've met the standards, the 4 standards or 3 standards to go from A1 to A2, lawfully existed residence, 5 acres, no new streets or easement of access, and it was A1. So we do think there's more possibility that you might be able to do some ag-related, it's a very busy area, as you might know, when you go down to past Broken Ore, and it's a popular street, so, we just thought there's a possibility that someday someone might want to have a pumpkin farm or grow vegetables or have chickens, and there's the buildings there to do so with a barn and some sheds, so that's essentially why we are requesting the A2, and we would request your recommendation for that, please.
Thank you. And again, we only have 6 members, and you have the option to continue if you wish.
We would request a vote today.
Okay.
Please.
Good choice. Yeah. Okay, so I'll close the hearing portion of the meeting and open up the voting portion of the meeting. And again, this is application number 2024-0771 for an A1 to A2 at 920 Rawson Bridge Road, Cary. Do I have a motion to approve or to deny?
For purposes of discussion, I will move acceptance of the petition.
Second. Excuse me.
Okay, discussion?
Yes, I would support without reservation another E1 here. I am not expecting to vote in favor of this petition, however, for really two reasons. One, I was part of the committee that drafted the UDO, and it was clearly the intent that new A2s simply be farmsteads that already existed with lawfully developed residences. And this really doesn't meet that, in my view. The second reason is I think that this opens to a commercial use, albeit a much less intensive commercial use than this petitioner sought in a previous petition. It is a commercial use that I'm not sure fits into this neighborhood at all. And I think with an E1, E5, he could have grow vegetables and have a farm stand, but not nearly what they'd be able to do with an A2. And I don't think this is a particularly good location for that. So for those reasons, I may well be the only one that thinks this way, but for those reasons, I am going to vote against this petition.
Okay, and I neglected to include the variance on that. Will you amend your motion to include the variance?
Yes, I'll amend my motion to include the variance, and let me say I have no objection to the variance.
Okay.
I think that it would be unreasonable to deny the variance.
Okay, and Mary,
And I agree.
second amendment. Okay, thank you. Okay, Mary, do you have any discussion?
As long as we have no particular approval standard here from one way to the other, I am going to be voting in favor.
Mr. Cozen?
As I mentioned, I have an unusual familiarity with this property. In one sense, I seek out historical information, and it's recently come in possession of myself and my colleagues of a movie of the dedication of the Rawson Road Bridge from 1924. And the reason I bring that up is that 2 years later, the U.S. Supreme Court released a decision of Ambler Realty versus the town of Euclid. The world looked awful simple in that 1924 movie with whatever cars and horses were lined up to watch the dedication of the bridge. But unfortunately, it is that later decision that we are now confronted with, which in some ways seems that every square peg is confronted with a round hole, so to speak. And now we have a use at an area that we are subject to a balancing test. I share the concern of ad hoc, but these are the rules that have been presented to us for almost 100 years, and I feel confident in the administration of the ordinance by McHenry County that the use that is being in this petition and the facts that have been given to us and the location are such that I will be supporting this petition as presented.
Thank you, and thank you for the history lesson.
Sorry.
Mr. Schnabel?
I'm going to withhold an opinion until I hear the concerns from the other members.
Okay, Mr. Kernan?
I would just like to address Mr. Elbridge's first concern about the intent and resort to history and prior decisions of our body. In my mind, the ordinance is not ambiguous. They've complied with the ordinance. The intent of the county in passing this ordinance is to be determined by the ordinance itself in the face of the ordinance, unless it's ambiguous. If it's ambiguous, then we can resort to history, then we can resort to other means for construing an otherwise ambiguous ordinance. This ordinance is not ambiguous, so I think it's inappropriate to justify an adverse decision based upon what history is, since it's clear, and even clear from staff's perspective, that the ordinance has been complied with. And we deal with the law, not with history. So I would be voting in favor of this.
Thank you. Want me to go? Okay. I agree with everything that's been said. I also feel that an A2 or an E5 is appropriate, since we are hearing the A2 and all the standards have been met. I am in favor. Mr. Schnabel.
Based on everyone's concerns here, my initial thinking on this was this part near Cary, Illinois, along the river is a very unusual place to start with. And I understand why A2 could be desirable for someone that wanted a little bit more than a backyard operation, possibly. This is a very public road. Not a good location for any kind of heavier duty business by the curve of the bend in Rawson Road by any means. But overall, Mr. Eldridge seems to be greatly concerned about the future event that I really couldn't predict. And I don't see this causing anyone a great deal of harm. So based upon the comments of others, and I don't foresee an immediate threat, at least, needing county enforcement action of any kind. So I would have to be inclined to support the petition.
Okay. In that case, we will take a roll call vote. Mr. Eldridge,
No.
Mr. Kozer,
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel,
Yes.
Ms. Donner,
Aye.
Mr. Kernick,
Yes.
and I also will vote yes. So that will go to the county board with a 5-1 recommendation in favor at next month.
March, Brian.
I believe they'll go to the March.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are you any relative with that Schnabel gold digger, the biggest